Hi guys, and welcome back. Josh and I saw American Sniper, and American Sniper was breaking these box office January records like crazy. It made like $90 million its opening weekend, which is unheard of. And it's a story, the true life story, about Chris Kyle, who's credited with the deadliest sniper in American history. Like, that's his tagline. And it's a film directed by Clint Eastwood, starring Bradley Cooper. It got nominated for Best Picture, it got nominated for Best Actor for Bradley Cooper, and it was based on the book that Chris himself wrote, and it's just awesome.
I mean, Clint Eastwood, this is why Clint Eastwood frustrates me so much, because he can make complete and utter garbage, and we're like, oh, it's just Eastwood. And then he can come out with movies like Mystic River and American Sniper and blow our minds with how good a filmmaker he can be. He's so bipolar.
This is how bipolar Clint Eastwood is. Let's get on that little rant a little second. Clint Eastwood's so bipolar. He came out with Jersey Boys and American Sniper in the same year. How do you make Jersey Boys in the same year that you make American Sniper?
Okay, let's just put this into perspective. American Sniper is the #2 box office opening weekend of an R-rated movie. You want to know what #1 is? The Matrix. He made a movie almost as good as The Matrix. Like, that's upsetting to me.
So let's get into it. Let's get right into it. It's about, you know, like it says, the deadliest sniper in American history, played by Bradley Cooper. The dude's name is Chris Kyle. He is a cowboy to begin with, and he decides that he wants to serve his country after he sees like a bombing, and he sees this bombing on TV, and he says, I want to be a Navy SEAL. He becomes a Navy SEAL, becomes super proficient. It shows like his early life when he's hunting with his dad and how good of a marksman he is back then. And he becomes a sniper into the Navy SEALs, and they go over and they go over to Iraq, and they go over and it's just like, okay, you know, like, I want to serve my country, but he doesn't, you know, all throughout the movie you kind of see this, he doesn't let his, like, PTSD almost, he doesn't let that really affect him, and everyone's kind of worried about him. You know, he meets his wife, played by Sienna Miller, and, you know, she falls in love with him, and they, you know, have kids together, and it's just...
As one does.
Yeah, as one does, yes. And, you know, she does a great job in the film. Bradley does a great job in the film. And it is just a very interesting story, very kind of almost mundane story.
Yeah, I mean, as far as thinking about how good this movie is, I would say that there's very few war movies that could top this one. Like, in my book, it goes like Saving Private Ryan, Zero Dark 30, and then American Sniper's like top 3 war movies of all time. It's such a patriotic film, but one thing I really enjoy about this, and this is actually some people's complaint about this movie, is the fact that it doesn't try to send a message.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of presents his life like it should, and let you know what happened and how he reacted. And people are like, well, it really missed the opportunity to play on these political strings or show the effects of PTSD. I'm like, we can save that for later movies. That will have its own time. Let's just sit back and enjoy an American Patriot. And people flock to this movie. I think the reason is because it's such a patriotic, it's almost like if you don't see this movie, you're somehow less of an American, because that's what all the buzz around this movie is that it's just honoring an American hero, and I really appreciate that Clint Eastwood had the foresight to understand that he didn't need to try to do anything more than just present Chris Kyle's life in an open forum for people to see, and I think that's the beauty in this film.
That's what I loved about the film too. Like, it didn't try and shoehorn a message in, and it didn't try, you know, because like, the dude's autobiography is his life, man. Like, you know, it's his life, you know, him going to war and him, you know, being a patriot. And a lot of people are complaining too because that he was a bigot, he was kind of racist, and they don't show that. And I mean, I can understand not knowing a lot about the source material kind of helped me kind of get over that whole, you know, oh, they didn't show the entire side of him. But the thing is, like you said, Clint Eastwood just presents his life and lets you formulate your own opinions on the war. It doesn't try and say it's anti-war or for war or whatever, and it doesn't say it's, you know, this is the effects of PTSD, this is the effects of combat. You just see it. You see it unfold, and it's almost very artistic in that way, honestly, because it doesn't have this deeper meaning to it. It just has this is a guy's life this is real. It's a slice of life movie. It's a very great biographical picture because it is just slice of life. It's this guy's life, you know, from beginning to middle to end, and it just shows, you know, this American hero. And honestly, this is probably one of the better biographical picks that came out last year. You know, it came out this year, but it came out in limited run last year, and it's one of the better biographical picks of this past year because it isn't dull. It never really dulls. It's like a 2 hour and 14.
Yeah, it feels like an hour and a half movie
because it's such staged, and a lot of people said that it's staged like a Western. It's staged like, you know, you see these firefights and it's exciting, and you get this whole grand scale, and you think you're actually in the combat, and you just see these different emotions on display while they're in combat at home. And it's the whole package, and it can fire, you know, it fires on all cylinders to me. Like, I don't think there's a part in this movie that I said, man, just let this movie end.
No, definitely. And this being a critique, a review, I'm going to go ahead and nitpick a little. What I would have liked to see more of this film is a lot of the conflict came from the morality of, is it okay to kill kids for war? And him dealing with that psychological pressure. But then there was the other dynamic, kind of the shoot-off Western part, where it's him versus Mustafa. And it focused a lot on him, but I kind of felt when Mustafa dies in the movie, I mean, he died in real life, so you may or may not know that. But when he dies, and you don't really, he's just kind of this face. You don't really know much about him. You know very little, you know he's an Olympic sniper, but I would have liked if they had humanized him and didn't make him just another person on the end of the gun.
Right.
Which, I mean, that might be an interesting, they might have done that on purpose, because do soldiers think about that when they're killing someone? Is it just someone on the other side of the gun, or do they think about the human being? So maybe he purposely presented it like that. I can't fault the film too much. I mean, that's one of the few things that I can fault this film for.
Yeah, you can nitpick. You know, you can nitpick any film, and like there are a lot of, you know, nitpicking that can be done with this film. And you know, like you said earlier, a lot of people had the problem with the message, and I'm like, why does a movie? It doesn't need a message to be a good movie. I think honestly, this movie is just his life. And you know, we saw it, what was it, like third weekend, second weekend?
Yeah,
second weekend.
Packed.
That theater was absolutely packed, and the ending, and we talked about it in the Whiplash and a lot of the reviews, the ending of this movie was so emotionally impactful to me, not just because the guy was an American hero, but just to see how many people loved him and how many people honored him. And it was just, it didn't show it, and that to me was the most powerful thing. Like, it was like the whole text ending where this is what happened. That to me was a very emotionally and very impactful ending scene, and it brought a little bit of a tear to everyone's face in the movie theater. You know?
I mean, what you could really summarize this film as is like a memoriam to an American hero, because when the end started playing, right? At first you wanted to go, you just wanted to clap, but then you wanted to cry because you realized that this is a human being. This is someone who put their life on the line and ended up, you know, trying to help people, ended up dying for that. And I mean, walking out of the movie theater, silence. Not a single person was talking. I think Matt and I were the only people talking, like just saying how much we liked the film, but everybody else was very solemn, very sad. You could tell there was like this heaviness in the air, that people realized the impact of this movie. And now Matt and I were talking about, well, we wish more people would watch like Wild or Edge of Tomorrow, which I still think they should.
Yes.
But at least they went and saw this movie, because this is good American cinema. It's great American cinema, and I think that it's better for people to be exposed to this kind of film than to go watch The Wedding Ringer. Like, I would much rather have them see this movie than The Wedding Ringer. And so I'm almost happy that people are flocking to see this movie. So would you recommend this movie?
I would wholeheartedly recommend this movie. Go see this film right now. It's amazing. There's a reason people are flocking to the theater. It's because it's a great film, great war movie. It doesn't, like, if you're looking for super deep messages in the movie, this may not be the movie for you, but as a movie, a whole, as a cohesive whole, this movie works and fires on so many different levels and so many different cylinders. It's just amazing that this movie was as good as it was.
If you want to watch one of the best real life action movies, this is, I mean, like I said, it's up there with Saving Private Ryan and Zero Dark 30, which take basis on real life events, and so does this movie. And Bradley Cooper does a great job. There's a reason that this movie got nominated for an Oscar. You know, there's I think 2 or 3, and it definitely deserves those. And at first, when I didn't know anything about this, I'm like, how did Jake Gyllenhaal not get nominated or whatever? Or how did another movie that I enjoyed not get Best Picture nomination? But there's a reason for that, and I think it's just because that this movie plays on so many levels and works on all of those.
So what, did you guys like American Sniper? Have you seen it yet? Are you going to go flock to the theater like everyone else in the world to see it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe for more great content.